Hello and welcome to At the Heart of Health with Dr. James Marcum. In today's well-marketed world, it's hard to know who or even what to believe when it comes to health care. In each program, Dr. Marcum, a board-certified behavioral cardiologist, takes a balanced approach using common sense modern medicine and the ultimate source of truth, the Bible, recognizing that at the heart of health is love.
Hi, I'm Dr. James Marcum, and welcome to the Heart of Health. On the Heart of Health, we try to be a little bit different than some of the health programs out there. You know, some of the programs out there, they try to push a product or sell something. Some others impress you with their technology. But at the Heart of Health, we sort of go from what the Heart of Health is, and that's love. And we want each of our viewers and people that are involved in us feel some of the love we have and realize that at the heart of health is love. And today we have a remarkable guest with us who's had a remarkable love story about how he was helped and how he was healed, and that's Dr. Bill George. Bill, we're glad you're here on At the Heart of Health, and could you just take our audience a little bit about you? Tell us who you are, where you've been, how you got to this point in your life.
Well, I've been in ministry most of my life in one way or another. Most of the time, or a large amount of the time, we served as missionaries.
Okay.
We were in the Caribbean and then in Latin America, 2 different places in Latin America. And that led to being invited to institute a new program of missionary training at Lee University, a program called Intercultural Studies.
Now, Lee's in Cleveland, Tennessee.
Cleveland, Tennessee.
Okay.
And I taught there for 13 years.
Okay. Now, after you got done with Lee University, where did you go next? I know I met you a while back. What were you doing then?
Yeah, I've worked for the church in all those different jobs, Church of God out of Cleveland, Tennessee, in the denominational offices. And when you and I first met, I was the director of publications, or the editor-in-chief for our publishing house.
Now, how did you get there from being a missionary to all of a sudden writing books and editing books? How did that happen?
My college major was journalism, and I have written ever since I was in college. I did ghostwriting for other people and wrote magazine articles and did a couple of books myself. And so with that background, when the opening came, I was invited to come and work at the publishing house. Okay.
And what have you been doing the last few years?
The last few years have been probably the most interesting in my life. Our denomination has 117 colleges and Bible institutes outside the United States.
Wow.
And I have the delightful job of being the liaison person between our offices and our board and those schools. In that capacity, I visit the schools and we help them with planning and organization, curriculum, financing, that sort of thing.
So you travel quite a bit?
I travel quite a bit. That is, I did until the summer of 2007. And you know the story of what happened then.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that. And I guess, have you been on every continent now?
I think so.
Well, I want to share this with our audience. Well, what happened and brought you here today is I was in the office last week, and just before you came to see me in the office, a person called me that was supposed to be on our program this week, and he says, listen, I just cannot make it. And as you've seen, you know, we run a tight production study. I says, God, I have to find the right person with the right message that you want to share with the world. Please help me to find that person. It's already the week before we're going to film. So I said that prayer, and living with the Holy Spirit, you know, I didn't know how he was going to answer. Then I stepped in the door, and you shared this wonderful story with me, and I knew that that was the answer to prayer. And the first person wasn't supposed to be on at all. And I knew why he dropped out. It was because God wanted you to be here to share your story, your testimony, and this love story with the world. And we're going to do that after we go to a break. We're going to come back and walk you through what's happened to you. I know our people that are watching are curious about what we're going to be talking about. So don't go away. If you need to go get something to drink, stay with us. We'll be right back after this short message. I'm Dr. James Marcum, and I talk to patients every day who want to know the truth in healthcare. On our website, heartwiseministries.org, you can have your questions answered. You can read my blog where I talk about interesting and controversial subjects in medicine. You might choose to go to the radio or television sections and learn more about all sorts of health topics. Take the time and go to heartwiseministries.org.
You can easily spend $90 on an expensive meal out. How about investing $89.94 in your future? Just think about the possibility of coming off those prescription pills and getting rid of all the side effects. Think about feeling better than you have ever felt in your life. This is all possible for you. For only $89.94, you will receive a 7-part DVD series, Weight Management by the Book, a 30-lesson workbook with over 100 recipes, and if ordered today, exercise tubes will be included for free to help with your journey. There are many programs available, but this unique program has identified the truth about how to manage weight. This program is not available in stores. This limited offer will not last long. Pick up the phone now and dial 877-504-9628. Operators are standing by. This call will change your life forever.
Two words for you. Pop quiz. Ready? Name any funny movie. A drama. Name a mystery. And one more thing. Name the movie your kids saw today in science class.
Know what really matters. Know about your kid's school. And know about your kid. Find out 100 ways to know more, do more.
Welcome back to Heart of Health. An interesting date Dr. George talked to us about, and that was in 2007, Bill. What happened in 2007 that changed your life?
Well, since you're my cardiologist and know something about my health history, you remember that I've had a lifetime problem with high blood pressure and with diabetes. And the doctors call those two, the combination of those two over a long period of time, kidney killers. And so I've been wrestling with kidney issues for quite a while. And in the summer of 2007, I was in Nairobi, Kenya at an educational conference and started having difficulty. And within a day or two, I was diagnosed as having complete kidney failure. Had a terrible trip home from Nairobi and was admitted to the hospital immediately. And so for 2 years after that, I was on dialysis, kidney dialysis, which meant that every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for about 3.5 hours, I was connected to a machine that cleansed my blood.
So let me get this straight for our viewers. You know, your kidneys have always been getting worse, and finally they quit working in Kenya. Did you have to have dialysis there?
No.
No. So you made it back to the States, and then you started getting dialysis. But basically, your kidneys weren't working anymore.
That's right.
So these were your surrogate kidneys. Okay.
Okay. And then I continued on dialysis for almost 2 years. And a friend of mine at that time came forward, and his name is Fred Garman. He's a colleague in ministry and had been my student at Lee when I was teaching there. And he offered to give me a kidney.
Fred did, wow.
Unfortunately, when he was tested, his own high blood pressure kept him from being a candidate to be donor.
Okay.
But Fred had a good idea, and I think a divinely inspired idea. He went on Facebook and created a page called Find a Kidney for Bill George.
Now, what is Facebook again?
Well, Facebook is a social networking site where people
it's on the computer?
Can connect with one another and stay in contact with one another. And there are literally millions of people on Facebook.
Okay.
So within about 3 weeks, 8 of my former students had come forward and said, I would like to donate a kidney to Dr. George.
The ones at Lee? So I guess
That's right.
I guess that they must have thought pretty highly of the classes you taught.
Well, I was glad that I usually gave good grades. Okay. As a matter of fact, one of those students, a young man named Phil Hoover, who lives in Chicago, happened to have signed up for Facebook the day before Fred put the announcement on there. And he saw it, and he's a very spiritual young man, and he began to pray. And he said, God, in your great big family, certainly there's someone who could donate a kidney for Bill. And he said, this was his testimony to me, he said the Lord spoke to him and said, you're the one.
Wow.
And being as sensitive he is, as he is, he said, well, Lord, if you want me to do that, I will.
Now tell me a little bit about him. What was he doing in Chicago? Was he working? Was he?
Phil was my student at Lee back in the mid-'80s, and he had moved to Chicago. He was working, he's an admissions officer for a college in the Chicago area. And we've stayed in contact intermittently since that time.
Okay, so God tells him to give you a kidney. What happened next?
Well, he called me, and I wanted to be sure that he wasn't just working off emotion and this wasn't just a spontaneous idea that he hadn't thought through. So I said, well, I'll find out some information for you. But I waited a few days, and sure enough, about 3 days later, he called me back and he said, I haven't received anything yet. So he convinced me that he was serious about it. And at that time, I put him in contact with the University of Alabama at Birmingham Medical Center, where the procedure eventually took place. And they gave him the guidance that he needed to become a donor.
Okay.
He had to go through a process. He had to do a lot of tests, and eventually, after a period of a few months, he was approved to be a donor, and the surgery date was set.
Now tell me personally, at this interim time, you know, you're used to traveling all over the place. It must have been sort of a blow to you to all of a sudden be hooked up to, you have to go to this dialysis 3 times a week. How did you cope with that? A person is used to traveling all over the world, having to sort of sit at home.
Well, I had 2 responses. One was a tremendous impatience and wanting it to be different. The other was gratitude to the Lord that there's a system that can keep people alive when they go through this difficulty. And the people who treated me during the years I was on dialysis were kind and good, and they kept me alive.
Well, that's great. That's brought us up to the transplant. We're going to talk about that experience when we come back from break. Please stay with us. We're going to be right back on At the Heart of Health.